vendor invoice management on VIM. Basically, VIM stands for the vendor invoice management. So with the name itself, we can understand it that to process any of the vendor invoices. Okay, like this particular tool is all about to process the vendor invoices, right? So this is the so VIM stands for the vendor invoice management. Now, why this particular tool has come and what are the benefits of it and why we are using it? Why we can't use the SAP transaction code? Right. So such type of questions will always be there. What is the reason? Why? What? And how? Right. So basically, why we are using this VIM? Because like nowadays, even after Corona, we can say that like every industry or every organization wants to automate their process. Okay, so when I'm saying automate, what does that mean? Like they just want that the indexing can be done automatically. Like there will be a very less interaction. System should like there should be a control in the system in terms of validating it. If I need to like if certain informations are available in a different transaction, all will come into the same screen itself. Uh, then so this is the one of the like these are the few of the pointers basically why we are using the Opentext VIM, and this is like there was a problem statement like how can we automate it, and the VIM basically comes up with this solution where we can automate the vendor invoice processing as much as we can. And VIM is not only a technology. VIM basically solves a very various business problems in terms of putting some validations in the system, better control in the system, and also you can route the invoice to the multiple team members, to the multiple users, if I want to take any approval or if I want to take certain informations from the different users. Now, when I'm saying this thing, let's take an example to understand it. So who will process the vendor invoices? Let's make it interactive if anyone wants to join. So let's make it interactive if you are interested for the same, so that your concepts and all everything will be much clear on it.
Yeah, accounts payable team will process invoices.
Correct. The accounts payable team, the AP team. So they are the one basically who will process the vendor invoices. Correct. So now AP team, now to process any of the invoice, there can be certain information which is required from the requester, from the buyer, right? So like for example, line item is not matching. They are not be able to understand it at how to index and how to like against which line item this invoice has come. So they have to do the matching. So they are, if they are not be able to do it, then they need to ask to someone else, right? So in VIM, basically, they can route it to the requester by asking them, can you please provide me the confirmation which line item I need to select? Or they are not be able to understand that what is the tax code or tax rate basically which is available and whether the tax rate is fine or not, right? So if, for example, in purchase order there is a tax rate, but in invoice when the vendor sends, they send it with the different tax rate. Now, how AP team will come to know? Now, AP team will, when they verified it, they realize, no, this is not matching. The tax amount, tax rate is not matching at all. So should they process the invoice further? No, right? They will be requiring certain actions, certain informations from the different team. Now, who will provide this particular information? It will be a tax team. So there will be a separate text team basically who is sitting like who can like if any information is required from the text team and all. So the AP team can refer it to the text team by asking them, can you please confirm which tax rate I need to consider for this case? So all these process basically to and fro communication and all, everything can be done within Vim itself. So they don't need to go to the Outlook or Teams or Skype in terms of like asking the information, and everything will be tracked in the within the system from the audit perspective. Okay, any questions?
Sanchit, this is Nishant. I have one question. I don't know whether it's relevant or not. So, Vim is basically used for only accounts payable team, or accounts receivable team can also use this
Only
software.
accounts payable.
Accounts payable. Okay.
Yeah. Accounts receivable for the customer, right? This is the name itself says vendor invoice management.
Yeah, I agree. But even there might be a communication needs to be done, as you said, the when we can route the invoices to the tax team or requester regarding the PO or any non-PO invoices. In the same way, do we have can we send an emails to customer and all those things? That's what I have a doubt on that.
No, see, like if any information, but I don't think so. Like the accounts payable team will be requiring certain information from the accounts receivable to process the
Oh, no,
vendor.
no, no. I'm not about the. It's about not about the accounts payable team to receivable. It's receivables team contacting the customers.
Ah, okay. Okay, account. Okay, okay. But that is the separate. Like they are having some CRM and all, right? So they are having
Oh,
a separate tool.
okay, okay. Sorry, I don't know about CRMs.
Okay, they are having a separate. This is the this is whole and sole responsible only for the vendor invoices.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. So any other questions? Anyone? No questions. Okay, fine. Now the next question is. So now I think we just understand it that everything can be done within the Vim. So there is no as such we have to go to the offline and all. So this is the main purpose of the Vim. Now, where exactly the Vim sits, and I think this is also one of the questions for everyone. Like where exactly the Vim sits? Like when we are saying that. Is it a separate application, separate system? Basically, I need to go where exactly it is. Okay, so Vim basically sits just before SAP transaction codes. I'm not saying SAP application. Vim basically sits just before the SAP transaction code. Okay, now what does that mean? That means that there is a separate transaction code in SAP to process the invoices in Vim. Okay, now what is that? Sorry. Just let me just share my show you the SAP screen now. So I'm just logging to SAP. Okay, so this is the SAP initial screen or SAP easy access we say. Okay, now like to there is a separate I don't know like how many of you knows about SAP transaction codes and all. Okay, to process vendor invoice to process invoices in SAP, SAP has given one transaction code which is MIRO, MIRO. Okay, to process PO-based invoices. So to process PO-based invoices, Miro is the transaction code where we can post the invoice in SAP. Another transaction code is FB60. Okay, to process NPO invoices. NPO means non-PO invoices, which is not having a direct, which is not having a purchase order, which is a direct FI entry. So these are the two different SAP transaction codes, and this is being provided by the SAP to process PO-based PO-based invoices and the non-PO based invoices. Okay, now let's try to see it here, how this Miro looks like. So here I have just entered the Miro transaction code, and for example, here I'm just entering the company code, and then this is the Miro screen. Okay, so now this is the enter incoming invoice, and we can enter the invoice date, reference, posting date, amount, line items and all, and then can post the invoice like PO based invoice with the help of Miro transaction code. So Miro is the one of the SAP transaction code. So VIM basically sits just before Miro transaction code, or VIM basically sits before FB60 transaction code, which is for non-PO invoice processing. So this is the FB60 transaction code. Okay, here there is no line item section. So it is just like direct FI posting, and where with the help of the cost objects, GL account, cost centers and all. Any questions, anyone till now? Okay.
Hey Sanchit, this is Varun. So just had a question. Is there any difference in VIM when it comes to ECC and S4, or is it same?
No, it's same almost. It is just like in terms of processing the invoice, it is same, but few of the features in VIM basically, which like a little bit gets improvised. But when you talk about ECC and S4, right? What exactly comes into our mind is like might be the tables and all, everything gets changed. The clubbing of the tables and all have happened. Nothing has been happened for the VIM. It is the same only.
Okay. And when you say that SAP transaction sits just before the, VIM transaction sits just before the SAP transactions. So I believe you're talking about the embedded applications of VIM in SAP.
Correct.
So my question is, can there be a possibility that the company is not using the ERP or the SAP solutions as such for the business processes, but they would like to use only VIM from the solution perspective? That's not possible.
No, it's mandatory. It's mandatory. Even whenever anyone wants to use VIM, so they need to take the SAP also, and even like they are going with the SAP ERP. So SAP also recommends because SAP has acquired like some stakes of Opentext, and whenever they they are giving the license and all, they also promote for the Opentext, like take this particular tool also. So SAP also recommends to go with the Opentext and all. So it is a like whole and soul responsible of the of SAP only.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sanchit, Shailesh here.
Yes, Shailesh.
So is there a separate license required or not required for VIM?
Yes, it's a separate license because it's a separate server basically.
It means apart from ECC or S4, we need to get the separate license for the VIM.
Correct. VIM, now what type of server? I think just to give an answer, but I think it will not be right place basically might be in the future. You can just understand it what exactly I'm trying to say. But just to give an answer, basically, there are different servers basically which we also need to take it as part of the VIM, like archive server where the invoices are going to archived or stored. The second one is a OCR server. So all those servers are itself is a different. So to use those servers and all the credentials and all everything is required.
Okay, but the VIM as an application within SAP, does it need to take separate? Does it need a separate license within ECC, or it is part of the ECC or S4 application?
No, to use the VIM itself, archive server is one of the mandatory thing.
Okay.
Otherwise, we cannot, like, how the invoice will be archived.
Okay. Okay. And is it a separate add-on if someone doesn't wants to go for it? Is there a choice, or it has to be
No,
installed?
it's a choice. It's a choice. It's not because installation of VIM will take, like, that is a separate activity.
Okay.
Where you need to take a help from the basis guy and they will do everything.
Okay, Sanjay. Yeah, continue.
Yeah. Okay, so now, so these are the two different transaction code of SAP. So these were like everyone used to use this particular transaction code. Now, when I'm saying VIM is an add-on tool to the SAP or embedded software to the SAP, then once we embed the VIM software into the SAP, then basically what happened, there are the different transaction codes of VIM which will also come and will be applicable in SAP. Now, if you're just seeing the normal SAP, you will even not find the VIM transaction codes there. But since if we have already installed it as an add-on into the SAP ECC or S4, then there is a separate transaction code basically which is there and which we need to run it to process the vendor invoices. Now, what is that? So like it starts with /opt/vim_wp. Okay.
Excuse me, Sanjay. Your screen, SAP screen, actually looks very small to me. And is it possible for you to enlarge only or view or share only the SAP screen? Make a full screen.
No, I think you can also just double click on that Skype and you can do that like zoom in, zoom out. You can also do it. Because I think otherwise, like a lot of things will. I will try to do it tomorrow. Might be like
Okay,
increase the width and all. But this is the ideal size basically, which I always prefer. But that's okay. Like the transaction, let me just write the transaction codes and all so that it would be easy for everyone. So now Vim T codes, okay. /opt/vim_wp. Okay. Now in SAP, what happened basically? /o means next session, right? So once we enter /opt directly this particular transaction code, then system will understand the transaction code as pt/vim_wp. So whenever we are using any of the Vim transaction code, we have to make sure to enter /n before the Vim transaction code. Okay, so this is the /n, and after that, but the Vim transaction code is /opt/vim_wp. Okay, I will just copy it and again try to re-execute it for you guys. Okay, so now the same screen has come. So here basically, now let me just open. So this is the list of the document IDs basically which system is showing and which is pending for processing. Okay, so like someone from the AP team needs to open those documents and then process the invoices further. Let me just show you one example. Yeah. So this is the Vim screen, entire Vim screen. Okay. Like once I open this document, so now if you see here, there are a list of the documents. Now in this initial screen, there are the list of the documents which is required to process. Okay, so someone from the AP team needs to process those invoices and all. So like for example, I am a AP processor. I will go to this transaction code and find it out. Okay, how many invoices are pending for me? Okay, how many documents are pending for me? So they okay, this is the okay, I need to now execute this and I need to process this document first. Okay, the first one. So like if you see the number series, it ends with 9, right? So once they open it, then the other informations like the now to process any of the invoices, right? So what is the basic fields basically which is required, then only I can post the invoice in the system. What are those basic fields? Anyone?
Yeah,
Yeah,
vendor number, company code, invoice number, invoice date, line item for PO.
Right. So these are the basic fields, right, which is at least required to process any of the invoices. So as a AP processor, what exactly they will do? They will enter the vendor code, right? This is a vendor code. This is a company code. They will enter it here. This is the invoice number, the tax amount, total amount, invoice date, tax code, right? Then PO number. Okay, this is for the non-PO, so that's why it's not me. So like the line items, then the line items, they need to enter it, right? All these are the basic fields basically which is required, and the same fields
Will be picked by OCR, right, Sanchit, automatically.
it will be picked. Yeah. So now the OCR part is something like it is an optional component. Okay. I think let's go one by one. I'm just talking right now, but yes, your point is correct. The OCR will pass all those information, but wherever the OCR is not available, then the people are entering it manually also. Okay, so this is the basic data, like these are the basic fields basically which is required to process the invoices. Okay, now on the right hand side, if you see here, like there is an option of the image, history, comments, so we can see everything. Now what is this image section? Now here basically Opentext has given the standard screen where whenever our AP processors processing the invoices, right? So the image section, the image should also become whenever they are processing the invoices. So on the right hand side, they can see the invoice image also. And on the left hand side, they can check it. Yes, everything is fine. Then just post it. Post the invoice accordingly. So this is so in one screen, we can see the image also and the indexing fields also. So which simplifies the process very much for the AP processors, and this will help them in terms of processing the invoices correctly. In traditional Miro screen, right? Not in traditional, I will not say traditional term, but in Miro screen basically, or FV60 screen, we don't have that option available where we can see the invoice in the same screen itself. We can just attach the invoices in Miro or FV60 transaction code. So this is one of the benefit basically in Vim, where the team, whenever they are processing the invoices, the invoice copies also they will be there in front of them, and they can process the invoices accordingly.
So Sanchit, see this, as you said, it's OCR is an optional component as far as OpenText is concerned. Looks like apart from that, if that's the optional component and we are not using any enterprise scanning or any other way to, or any other component to automate the invoicing processing, then it pretty much looks like SAP only, right? I mean, I'm just asking because there could be other possibility like an IDOC which could process, but that can also happen in SAP also. That's not very specific to Vim. So if we consider OCR as a optional component, looks like apart from AP processor will be able to view the invoice image in the same screen. Apart from that, there are no added benefits. Is that safe to understand like that?
No. That's not correct statement. If you remember in the starting, I told some of the benefits basically of why we should use the Vim and what was the basic gap available in SAP transaction codes. In this particular Vim, basically, even though if we are not using OCR, like I will tell you very frankly, like there are various companies basically who is not using the OCR at all. Okay, and the reason why I'm saying this thing is because few of the companies goes without the OCR tool or they goes with their own third-party OCR tool. So when I'm saying OCR is an optional component, so OpenText is also having their own OCR products, right? That is an optional component to use it. We can integrate with the third-party OCR also. First, second thing is we can also don't use the OCR tool. Now, what are the other benefits basically? There are numerous of so many benefits basically, which is there in the OpenText VIM and which was not there in the SAP. The benefits are like you can refer it to the respective team member within the VIM system itself. If I am an AP processor, why should I go with my screen at all? Right? I should just refer it to them. Why should I go to the teams and ask them? I don't know when that guy will respond and all. So AP processor can refer it to the text team, to the requester, to the buyer to take certain information.
So when you say refer it, is it the approval process you are talking about? The workflow?
No, not approval.
Not the workflow you're talking about, right? Okay.
Everything is the workflow. I think because like everyone is there, I think might be you knows something about the Vim and all. So, but yeah, like workflow, every document basically will be created with the workflow itself, and that workflow needs to be routed to the respective team member or respective users.
Sanchit, if you don't mind, can I answer that question because I have that experience? What exactly advantage helps with Vim?
Yeah, sure.
Sorry guys, I mean, I'm a P2P process person. As an end user perspective, previously we used to do Miro or FB60. So for any creation of vendor, we need to download an invoice and we need to send the invoice to the respective team like vendor master team, or if it's any query which is related to the tax team, we will be sending it to the tax team. Whereas if we use Vim application within one click, I mean, just like how we click on the Amazon just ship code or something like that, we have an option, I guess. So if we click on that, invoice will route to the direct to that particular team, and they can also weave our comments, and we don't need to, I mean, we can route it to them and they can work on this just like in the same queue, and they can reply back to us, and they reply back to us when the vendor is created on any answer. With that, we don't need to, I mean, if we go with a traditional way kind of and downloading the invoice, email and all those things, there might be a chance that we might miss that particular invoice. Whereas in Vim, everything can be traced and tracked and we can work it properly. Sanjit, am I correct or is
Yeah.
anything?
I think thank you so much for elaborating this. So that's what. So like so this is one of the benefit. Like referring it to the team, respective team, asking them to create the vendor code, or asking them, like for example, the like to process to process any of the invoice. You realize that vendor didn't send the VAT registration number or the GST registration number on face of invoice, and that is also doesn't match with the vendor master data. So they can refer it to the vendor master team, ask them to maintain those records also. These are the things, but in traditional Miro and all, they have to come out from the system and then like ask the team, relevant team, and after that, once they create it, then they come back, then again they open the Miro and then post the invoices. Apart from this, the other benefits are like the approval process. Uh, Vim comes up with the standard approval process where we can take the approval from the respective buyer, requester, or the cost center's owner and all. So this is also one of the biggest advantage. The third advantage or the benefits, if we are not using OCR and all, why we are having a control in the Vim, it is a business rules or the validations which we can put it in the Vim, so that it can just go and find it out what type of information is being not being entered. Now, I know like it is somewhat it is there in the Miro also, but there are other things. Uh, like if you want to do a, so much of customizations and all, logic like going to the different SAP tables, find it out the data and all, so everything can be done within the PIM itself. For example, here if you see the vendor code, right? So automatically, without that OCR component, automatically the address can also come from the vendor code. So this is something basically like few of the things which we need to do it, and this will help basically AP processor. Yeah, okay, the vendor address which is available on face of invoice, it exactly matches with our SAP vendor master data. So these are the pointers, basically a better control in the system which it is having it. So this is the advantage of Vim even without OCR.
Yeah,
Does that
Sanchit,
make sense? Yeah.
yeah, Sanchit, Shiva here.
Yeah, Shiva.
Yeah, Sanchit, when you're talking about OCR, I have some doubt. This OCR, is it a inbuilt feature of SAP or OpenText, or else do we need to seek service from third party? Because in my organization, we often hear the word validation tool. Okay,
Right.
so
Right.
that validation tool, does it belongs to this SAP product or OpenText, or what it is exactly?
See, now I can't say exactly whether you are using the OpenText validation client or not, because validation tool can all this terminology can use, because this is a very basic terminology, right? This can be used across for all the OCRs, because every OCR will be having the some validation tool.
Okay.
Right? So here basically like OpenText has come up with the different OCR products. Like they have first come up with the ICC, then BCC, and then currently it is a IES, which is the Information Extraction Services. So these are the different OCR products basically, which like for which a separate license is there, separate OCR cost is there, uh, and that is the whole and soul tool of the OpenText, proprietary solution of the OpenText.
So apart of these three, what you said, ICC, BCC, and IES, so is there any third-party vendors
Yeah,
who
yeah,
are?
that's what I'm coming. Let me
Yeah.
just complete it. So, so apart from this, basically, we can also integrate with the third-party OCR also. Okay, so that OpenText has given that flexibility. If you want to integrate with the third-party OCR too. Now I will just tell you why. Like at some point of time, OpenText OCR product, like everyone was moving out from the OpenText OCR product. Even I had implemented so many third integrated with the third-party OCR tool. I have even worked for the maximum clients there. So what basically happened, like what was basically happening in 2019, 20, 21, not 21 basically, 1920 basically. Uh, what OpenText recommend is whenever they are coming up with the new OCR, they always say to upgrade their soft to upgrade your software. Okay. whenever the client is upgrading the software, then there is some license cost and then there is some additional cost to implement it and all comes into the picture. Opentext was having that ICC BCC. ICC BCC was having certain restriction. Restriction when I am saying like everyone, like every organization wants to go with the data science model. When I'm saying data science model, it is a machine learning and artificial intelligence capability. So they want that like they should introduce some machine learning and artificial intelligence tools and all. So then basically the companies start searching for the same thing. ICC BCC were not having that artificial intelligence and machine learning capability because it works based on the vendor layout template training. Then OpenText, and at that point of time, that was one of the drawback basically, which was going further with that, like upgrade your software and all, and then this such type of limitations were there. So that is one of the reason basically why mostly majority of the client has started moving to the third party OCR tool. Because the third party OCR tool were giving them the machine learning and artificial intelligence capability. When I'm saying artificial intelligence machine learning capability, it means like you don't need to do, like for example, one of the vendors sends an invoice, then other vendor also sends an invoice. But if the keyword dictionary, like the purchase order number, the keywords basically which is there, like for example, um, invoice number, right? So this invoice number is available on face of invoice, and then after that the value is there, right? Few of the vendor can send it as invoice no dot, and then the invoice number they can put it. Few of them can write it as invoice hash, and then they can put the number. So these are all the keyword dictionaries basically. So what happened basically, if such type of layout changes or feed changes comes, OCR product of OpenText OCR product ICC BCC will not be able to capture it. So someone needs to manually do some template training in the system and tell the system, no, now from now onward for this particular vendor, this will be the keywords basically which will come. Okay. So this is one of the issue basically, limitations basically which were there, and due to which majority of the organization has started moving to the third party OCR tool. Because third party OCR tool was having that machine learning and artificial intelligence capability, and for which no one needs to do the template training. Okay, it is just like system will learn by themselves. Okay, invoice number will come like this. Invoice no dot also I need to consider. Invoice hash also I need to consider it. Okay, so it will just memorize everything and no need to do a separate task, which is a template training. And uh, so that is one of the advantage basically which third party OCR tool were having. So after this, OCR OpenText has come up with their own data science OCR technology, which is the IES, which is the Information Extraction Services, which is having the machine learning and artificial intelligence capability. So, so during that particular point of time, whatever the company have already moved out from OpenText OCR, so they are still using the third-party OCR tool. So we can directly integrate the third-party OCR tool also with the OpenText. So OpenText has given the OCR component as an optional. Okay.
Okay.
Any questions, anyone?
Without this third party capturing tools, I think automation is not possible, right?
So sorry, I think I just missed the last one. Can you repeat again?
Without this third party OCR tools, ICC or whatever it is, IES, without this automation is not possible, right?
Yeah, I think at some point of like time or something we can say it, yes, because the indexing fields will not be there, right?
Yeah.
So this is like without OCR, like obviously like the fields and all basically that will not be captured by the system automatically. So it is a kind of necessary basically to have it.
Okay.
But having said that, automation doesn't mean that only the information which is available on face of invoice. Automation also means that whatever the information is available in the SAP database tables like vendor master, material
For the rest
master.
of the fields, yeah.
Correct.
It will pick
So
from
for
SAP.
those things, basically, also we call it as an automation, right? So if we want to bring such type of informations also from the system, so that is also we call it as an automation. That is something which can be done without OCR.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay. Okay. Great. Let's move further then. Yeah, so like as I mentioned, VIM is an add-on to the SAP system, and majority of the function and process run inside the SAP system. So this is the same screen basically which I have shown to you guys. And once we process the invoice, so it will call in the backend, it will call the SAP transaction codes like Myro and FB60 to post the invoices. Now here, now I think when the Vim is an add-on, so it means that Vim can use all the SAP various modules and technology like ABAP, workflow, SAP NetWeaver, SAP. It is directly integrated with SAP MM, SAP FICO. So it is directly integrated with all these modules in this. Like it is directly integrated with all these things. So like for example, here if you see the vendor code will be created in which, like, where should be the vendor code created? It is the part of SAP, right? SAP master data, right? So everything is Vim basically just sits before SAP screen, but all the transactions and everything, the master data and all, everything supports in the Vim system. So there is no as such connection you have to enable it as of now. Okay.